Hello and welcome to another edition of Not So Great Deck Monday, where we take not so great decks and put them to the test. Today we have a submission from one of our league members, Joel, and we'll be playing Golisopod, Vikavolt, Drampa. So the goal of this deck really is to set up a Vikavolt to accelerate energy onto our Golisopod and Drampas and do a ton of damage to our opponents. Let's take a look at some of the attackers in the list. Golisopod has the Armor ability, which reduces 30 damage from any attack from my opponent. And it also has Resolute Claws, which does 80 plus 70 more if my opponent is a Pokemon, if my opponent's active Pokemon is a GX or EX. So that coupled with Choice Band, you can start hitting 180 damage pretty easily. Drampa also has the Berserker ability, that if I have any damage counters, or the Berserk attack, I should say, that if I have any damage counters on my bench, that Berserk will do 150 damage also. So again, with the Choice Band, that's 180, and it's enough to take a knockout on most of Pokemon EXs in the format. A few GXs, but not really. We do play one Vikavolt for its strong charge ability, which will let us attach one Grass and one Lightning energy from our deck to our Pokemon any way that we like. So we set up that strong charge to power up our Resolute Claws and our Berserk. We do play 2 Grubbin and 2 Charbug to be able to get Vikavolt into play, and 4 Wimpod. A few notable items in the deck: Rescue Stretcher. This will allow us to get back 1 Pokemon from our discard pile into our hand, or 3 back into our deck. Typically, we just use the 1 from the discard pile into our hand. We do play Aether's Paradise Conservation Area. Full disclosure, I did not know that it was only for basic grass Pokemon. I saw it on the list and I assumed that I could use Golisopod to reduce 60 damage with armor / Aether Paradise. So, there's probably better stadiums that you could use in the deck. But for the videos today, we went ahead and kept it the way it was. We do play, of course, 3 Choice Band to hit that extra 30 damage on Pokemon EX and GX. We also do play a couple Floatstone, and of course, Field Blower, which has been pretty pivotal in this new format. For our supporters, we play the typical 4 Sycamore, 3 N, 2 Lysander, 1 Lily, which I really like in this deck, and 1 Professor Kukui. Professor Kukui will be able to add to our damage total. So instead of hitting for 180 damage, we can now hit 200, which brings in a few more EXs and GXs into our knockout range. 4 double colorless to power up our Resolute Claws and Berserk. 6 grass energies, obviously, for Resolute Claws. And 3 lightning energies, just so we get the most out of strong charge. With that, we'll jump into a few games with Vikavolt, Golisopod, Drampa. So welcome to Game 1. We're playing against KPTCG. Looked like my opponent was playing a Psychic deck. More than likely, Garbodor, Tapu Lele is all I've been seeing online recently. So let's go ahead and see. I'm starting with the Wimpod. But I don't have much else in my hand. My opponent flips over Tapu Lele GX with that Wonder Tag ability. We see a Choice Band going to Tapu Lele. Not going to be very helpful in this matchup since we play so many non-EX attackers or non-GX attackers. And we'll see an N come down from my opponent. So it's good that my opponent's playing Choice Band because I don't have to worry about hitting for more than this is a terrible hand. More than 180 damage. So we do see a Grubbin hit the field, a Aether's Conservation Area, and a double colorless being attached to my Wimpod. And we'll see a Sycamore discarding the other 2 double colorless. We do see a second Wimpod, a Drampa GX hitting the field, and an Escape Rope. I'm going to give up this Wimpod as a free prize for my opponent. I don't want to lose my double colorless just yet, especially especially since I already discarded 2 double colorless. Back onto my opponent's turn. Didn't do much last turn, just an attachment and a choice band, and that's about it. So hopefully my opponent can get something started here. We do see a double colorless coming down. Energy Drive is now doing 60 damage, but with that conservation area. Oh, Lysander, okay. Bringing up my Wind Pod with energy and an Energy Drive for 70 damage. So conservation area, reducing the damage, but not enough. We'll see a Charbug go on to that bench Grubbin. We'll see another Wind Pod hit the field shortly. Drampa GX going to be benched, and a VS Seeker for a Sycamore. We are discarding Vikavolt, but we can get that back later if we draw into our Rescue Stretcher. Here I'll attach to Drampa, evolve my Grubbin or my Wind Pod into Golisopod, and we'll see a Righteous Edge, discarding that double colorless off of that Tapu Lele. What does my opponent do now? If my opponent keeps on attaching double colorless energies, I can keep on discarding them with Righteous Edge, which is pretty cool. I would like to draw into a choice band soon, so I can do more damage to this Tapu Lele. Here we'll see a VS Seeker for an N. Always a good sign. I could use a new hand. And an N for my opponent. Hopefully we can get Vikavolt into play this turn if we draw into one. So let's see. No Vikavolt just yet. Not much of anything in our hand really. 3 double colors already in the discard pile. And another Tapu Lele. Going to use Wonder Tag to grab a supporter from my opponent's deck. And we do see that Tauros also on the field. So if I can't get a choice band and one-shot that Tauros, my opponent can Rage or Mad Bull GX and take knockouts on a bunch of my Pokemon. So let's see what my opponent grabs here. A Skyla. Interesting. Skyla, not really a card we see too often. That's a really cool Pikachu box. I want one. Skyla, not really a card we see too often. So let's see what my opponent does with it. We do see a Energy going on to Trubbish. Setting up for that Trashalanche later. And we'll just see a Sycamore, discarding all these cards in my hand. We do have another Golisopod. And we do have the Rescue Stretcher. So we can grab Vikavolt out of the discard pile. See energy come on to that Golisopod. We will grab the Vikavolt out of the discard pile. And we'll evolve that Charbug. Attach a Floatstone because it has a 3 retreat cost. Oh, Strong Charge first. And there's no more lightning energy in the discard pile. Pretty unfortunate. So I'll go ahead and put that energy onto another Golisopod. And we'll just see a Righteous Edge for another 20 damage. So pretty unfortunate that I did not have another lightning energy in the discard pile. So one of them is prized. Then I could have got 2 energy in play this turn and next turn also. So we saw a Professor Letter, attaching energy to Tapu Lele, a Skyla. Going to look for another trainer card. Probably a supporter, or maybe an Ultra Ball. Surprised we haven't seen a Shaman from my opponent yet. We haven't seen a Shaman from myself either. So maybe that's the goal here, not bench Shaman. So we do see an Altar of the Moon Going to give that Tapu Lele free retreat. And we'll just see an energy drive for 90 damage because of that choice band. So we'll see a strong charge going to allow me to attach another grass energy onto that Golisopod. We'll see a float stone onto the Drampa, retreat into that Golisopod. I can hold on to that choice band for now. We'll see a resolute claw for 150 damage, knocking out that Tapu Lele, taking my first 2 prizes of this game. So I've used 2 VS Seekers. I am down to 1 double colorless. We do see a Tauros become active. I am holding that choice band. So next turn if I don't get, or this turn if I don't get end, I can one-shot that Tauros GX. So we'll see a VS Seeker for a N. This will be pretty unfortunate if I don't draw into that choice band once again. But we'll see what happens. We do have another Golisopod to evolve into. Not that we have that much energy left in our deck to power it up, but you know, we can always use that armor ability to reduce some of this damage from my opponent. I see an energy come onto Tauros. We do have a Sycamore. We see another Professor's Letter for 2 more Psychic Energies. Onto my turn. We do top deck the choice band. Pretty great. I can go ahead and attach that to Golisopod. Use Strong Charge, set up another energy attachment for my turn. And we'll just see a Resolute Claw for 180 damage because of that choice band. I decided to keep my hand just so I have access to that Lysander. I'm assuming the Garbodor will be coming active shortly. Going to be able to knock out my Golisopod, but if I can keep the Lysander in hand, I can bring up that Tapu Lele on the bench. We actually see a energy evolution into Espeon GX. It's going to be a little bit problematic to deal with, having to hit 100 and 200 damage, and a Field Blower, discarding my tools. There goes a Choice Band and a Float Stone, and a Fan Club for my opponent. So here I'm counting the amount of items in my discard pile. And we'll see a Trubbish and a Sudowoodo. Sudowoodo going to limit my bench space down to 4 Pokemon. I think I'm going to keep the Drampa with the energy, even though it's damaged. Not too big of an issue, but I can use Righteous Edge to knock out my opponent. So we'll use Strong Charge, get my last energy, power up this Golisopod. Can retreat, get rid of the confusion. We'll get rid of my opponent's stadium so they don't have to retreat. And we'll see a Resolute Claw for 150 damage. So Side Beam typically does 30 damage, but because of armor, Golisopod's ability, I took 0 damage from that psychic attack, or Side Beam attack, which is pretty cool. Now my opponent will be forced to retreat. If I keep my hand, I can Lysander up that Espeon and take the last 2 prizes. You do see a second Espeon GX. Do we see another Altar of the Moon? Nothing yet. Retreat. And we'll see a second Psybeam. Again, doing 0 damage. But we do have the game. Here I can just retreat. Pull up that bench Espeon. And take the last 2 prizes to win the game. Well played. So there you have it. That's game number 1. We were able to defeat this Garbodor Espeon deck. We'll be jumping into game 2 momentarily. Ooh, prize wheel. Let's see what I got. Oh, coins. Okay. So we'll jump into game number 2 momentarily. So on to game number 2 versus Mr. Smoky Slim. I believe we are seeing another Espeon Garbodor deck. I played for maybe about an hour and a half yesterday, and literally every deck I played against was Espeon Garbodor or some other variant of Garbodor. So we see that I do not have a basic Pokemon in first hand, so I'll get a mulligan. We're going to start with the Grubbin. Not the best of starts. And we'll click done. So we do see that Espeon. This is kind of a difficult matchup if they can get Garb going. As you saw in the first game, my opponent really couldn't set up their Garbodor, so they couldn't really attack me for too much damage. So that's going to be the game plan here. Try not to play too many items. Hopefully my opponent stumbles a little bit and we can take these knockouts pretty easily. So yes, I would like to draw a card. And the Floatstone. We do see that Trubbish. Interesting that they're playing the newer Trubbish. I kind of like the old Trubbish, but we just see attach and a pass. Wow. So maybe this is the opportunity that we need. We do grab a Wimpod. We see an energy onto that Wimpod. Do we attach the Floatstone? Do we play another Level Ball? Or do we just go for the N? So seeing how my opponent had a pretty difficult start, we'll go ahead and just play our hand down just a little bit. We'll grab a second Grubbin. This will let me retreat into this one just in case my opponent is able to get a Garbodor in play and maybe try to knock out our Pokemon. Okay. So hand not too bad. We do have a Shaman for next turn and a Charbug. And we'll just retreat into that Grubbin and pass onto my opponent's turn. So we do see Garbodor with that Trashalanche. Should only be able to do about 40 damage. Yeah, with 2 Level Ball, only 40 damage. And we see another N. So this is where Garbodor kind of stumbles. Especially early game, your opponent doesn't play too many items. I don't think Quad Garb is like the best deck in the format. It's pretty good, but it's really easy to play around. We do see a Tapu Lele hit the field. Gonna use Wonder Tag to grab a Lysander. So targeting down my Wimpod next turn if they get the chance. And we see an Acid Spray. Knocking out my Grubbin, not too much of an issue. I do have the Grubbin with the Floatstone. I do have the Golisopod in hand. Question is, do I want to play this Ultra Ball and then play the VS Seeker for Supporter? I do want to grab a Tribug this turn though. So we'll discard Grass Energy, and I kind of want to keep that Lightning to put it back into the deck so I can use Strong Charge later. So I think that's what I'll do. I'm going to grab a Drampa here. I'll attach to Drampa. Use Setup to draw 5 cards. Looking for a Charbug. Drop the Wimpod. Retreat into Drampa. And discard that double colorless on Garbodor. So similar to our first couple of turns last game, using Righteous Edge to buy us a few turns to set up. Back onto my opponent's turn, a Team Rocket's Handiwork. 1 head, discarding a VS Seeker and double colorless. I think I've been playing with double colorless more in the discard pile than I have been in hand or on our Pokemon. And we'll see a Trashalanche for 80 damage. Here we can get that Vikavolt into play. Going to let me use Strong Charge. I can't knock out Garbodor with Resolute Claws. Can't knock it out with Berserk either. So interesting. So I'll use Strong Charge. I'm going to attach to Drampa and once onto my Wind Pod. I'll retreat Drampa. And I'll go ahead and use Resolute Claws this turn. So more than likely Garbiter is not going to be able to knock me out. Should only be doing about 80 damage, minus 30 because of armor. So armor is a pretty good ability. My opponent should only be able to hit for 50 damage. Unless we see something like a Field Blower. And that could discard my Float Stones. See another Trebuchet hit the field. There is a Field Blower discarding 2 item cards on my side. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Trash Launch will still be short of a knockout, only doing 120 damage, minus 30 because of armor. We do see an Energy Evolution. Going to grab an Espeon GX. Once again, hitting 200 damage is pretty difficult with this deck. We do have to draw into that Professor Kukui that we have one of. So we'll probably just see a Trash Launch here for 90 damage. Alright. We'll see a Strong Charge. Going to attach 2 energy onto my Wind Pod. And 1 onto my Drampa. We'll see a Choice Band go onto Drampa. A Via Seeker for a Sycamore. So we'll see a third Wind Pod. I can escape rope into something, or I could just retreat. But no, I think my opponent's only going to take 1 prize off of this Golisopod. I do have an attacker set up for next turn with Drampa. I could easily draw into another Golisopod. So we're in pretty good shape right now. Espeon can't knock me out without using Psychic. Well, there's the Psychic Energy attachment, so they will be able to use Psychic to knock me out. And we'll just see an end for my opponent. Let's see what we get. 2 Choice Bands, excellent. And a Field Blower discarding my Choice Band. That's okay. But how are we going to deal with this Espeon next turn? We do have the Ultra Ball for the Golisopod. We just need another energy, which we should be able to get with Strong Charge. But we'll be short 20 damage from knocking this Espeon out. If we could top deck Kukui, that'd be super cool. So we'll see my Golisopod get knocked out. I'll promote this Wind Pod to the active position. And we do draw the Kukui. Alright. So that was super lucky. But I'll be able to use Strong Charge to attach onto this active Wind Pod. We'll see an Ultra Ball going to grab me a Golisopod, discarding Escape Rope, and probably the Via Seeker. I want to keep those Choice Bands in my hand if I can. We'll see a Golisopod. We'll evolve into Golisopod, attach the Choice Band. And then we'll play Professor Kukui for 20 more damage, drawing 2 cards. And we'll see a Resolute Claws for 200 damage. So Resolute Claws, absolutely devastating my opponent. More than likely, a Garbiter will be able to knock me out this turn though. I played a bunch of items that last turn. So we'll see an energy attachment onto Eevee. We'll see a second Espeon GX. And that's okay. We'll probably just see a Side Beam to confuse me. Yeah. So we'll see a Side Beam. Once again, what should I do here? I have no more energy in the deck. So I could just retreat into Drampa, bring up the Lele, or I could just go for it and try to hit this Espeon. So bring up Lele. Probably, no, I'm just gonna go for it. Tails, hit myself. So that play, not the best, but it does allow me to retreat into Drampa and set up that knockout with Berserker instead. Last turn I didn't have any damage on myself, but because I hit myself with the confusion, it actually works out pretty well. Thin out my deck a little bit, discarding these two cards. Grab myself a Golisopod, even though I have only one more double colorless. My opponent doesn't know that, so that's okay. And we'll just see a Sycamore discarding the Drampa. Just thinning out the deck a little bit more. Play my conservation area. I'm gonna hold on to that double colorless. I guess that's an okay play too. Here, a little bit scary. I could get Enhanced Hammered, but I think the game is close enough to ending that I'm okay with whatever happens. And we do see the Berserk for the knockout. Going down to one prize card. This Espeon probably will be able to maybe knock out Drampa if they get a energy card or a double colorless. But we might just have to see a confusion with Psybeam. So what does my opponent do here? If my opponent can retreat into, nope, we'll just see the Psybeam for 30, confusing me. It's actually pretty unfortunate because I have very little energy. I have no energy left in the deck. And now I have to discard 2 more energy into the discard pile. See a attachment onto Golisopod and a Resolute Claws for 150 damage. So what can my opponent do here? Would you see the Altar of the Moon? I have 1 more VSC left in the deck. And a Sycamore. More than likely we'll see a retreat into Garbodor, yeah. Garbodor will be more than enough to knock out this Golisopod. Probably hitting for over 200 damage. 250. So that's damage decrease. That should be 280 damage. Here I'll promote the Drampa. Get rid of the Stadium and just Sycamore. Drampa won't be able to knock out Garbodor, but with only 1 card left in deck and a Lysander in my hand, my opponent has to consider, maybe he has the Lysander, so he can bring up Golisopod. So my opponent thinks that if I can knock out that Espeon with Golisopod, he'd be safe. But because of that choice band on Drampa, I should be able to take the knockout on Espeon no matter what happens here. The worst thing that could have happened was like an N/escape rope play. Even then, I think I would have been pretty safe. But my opponent decided to take the knockout onto Golisopod, and I'm going to take this game. So we'll just Lysander up that Espeon, and we'll use Righteous Edge for 50 damage because of that choice band. Barely enough damage to take the last prize. So there you have it. That is the Golisopod Vikavolt Drampa deck. It's pretty fun. A little bit hard to set up sometimes, but if you hit the right matchups, you'll be pretty good. So once again, thanks to Joel for submitting this deck list to me. I made a few edits, but otherwise it's pretty much his idea. So that'll be it for this edition of Not So Great Deck Monday. See you guys later.